I have been adamant that I think we need somebody who is either a number 10 or somebody who's more attacking in the midfield. Who is a shooter? Like, who's a shooter and creator? Arugard needs somebody to, like, alleviate the burden. So I brought in my boy, Turkey. I don't think he will cost that much. That Leon fire sale, I will be there. I will be there.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal edition. This is part 2 of our squad evaluation pod. This is your host, Deen, and just like the last time, I'm here with Gabby. Hello, Gabby.
Hello. I'm ready.
And Coach, how are you?
Still fasting.
Okay. There has been a costume change because I like to think of myself as the Beyonce of Shirtless Plantain Show. But
Lord.
It's still the same gang. We didn't really move. We just grabbed some water, turned on our heaters a little higher and shit for those of us that live in the, polar vortex or whatever the fuck. But we are now here to talk about what we think the club will/should do over the summer. So essentially, we're all here pretending that we're big Andrea Berta, And I suppose the first question, Gabby, is what do you think we need this summer? Like, where do we need to buy? And how many positions do you think we need bodies for? And how many do you think we're actually going to do?
Where do I start? The Berta era it needs to be an influx. Well, we more than anything else, we need attackers. Let's say we couldn't get everything that we wanted, because obviously we can't, and we could only get 2 or 3 players, I'd almost get them all in the attack. Genuinely. We need that more than anything else, I think. What I think we're going to actually end up getting, though, I think we're going to get a goalkeeper. I think we're going to get at least a midfielder, if not 2. And I think we'll get 2 attackers as well. And then maybe you might sprinkle in at least, Arteta has to buy a defender. He's going to get a center back or a full back somewhere. So,
yeah, well, I will never be mad at an additional left back. Which, if the transfer window goes the way, or if the outgoings go the way we want them to go, Coach, I think we might actually need a left back.
Ironically, yes. We probably will. But that's where the whole rotational option with MLS comes in, because we are, we probably will need to buy one, but we might be okay if we're still going to persist with MLS getting most of these minutes next season at left back. So,
okay,
yeah.
All right. I don't really know how we're going to structure this, but I guess let's let Gabby start, because I suspect that she'll have the most interesting income.
I was going to say, let's start from the back and move forward. You start from the goalkeepers.
Can I just say one thing? If Malero is on the list, I'm jumping off the squad. I'm not doing it. Just so we know. Just so we're clear. So, Gabby,
you haven't even started yet. I got some stuff for you too.
Okay, all right. But just know, I said it here.
All right. Now, before we start, Mikel Arteta once said, and I quote, let me run in the group chat real quick to see what that exact quote was. And excuse me, there's mad Africans in my group chats right now. I don't know what's going on. Let's see here. Okay, deporting. All right, here we go. Here's what Mikel Arteta said a couple seasons ago about what his perfect squad size would be. He said, if you can afford it and you ask me what I want, it's 22 outfield players, healthy outfield players, and 3 goalkeepers. So that's a squad of 25 for the season. We have to consider that in our current squad, we have 2 players that are typically good players, but are currently injured, which means that we're stuck with them, and we're going to have to play them at some point, even if we want to sell them. So that brings us down to 23. Those 2 players would be Tomiyasu and Gabby Jesus. So we now need to fill out some spots in the squad for 23 players. Before we get into who comes in, I'm going to make a list of the people I think are definitely going to be at the club next season. If I say someone that you think will not be at the club next season, raise a finger and I'll shut the fuck up so you can tell me why I'm wrong. Here I go. Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, Havertz, Rice, White Rice, Calafiori, Merino, Nwaneri, Kivior? Okay. Okay. You both have an issue with Kivior. You think he's going to leave over the summer?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one
100%.
of those sales that's just going to happen, and I'm not going to be happy with it. But yeah, it is what it is.
All right. How much do you think we'll get for him, Gabby?
We're gonna be selling to Italian teams, so not a lot. But if we could possibly get a bidding war from somewhere else, like two teams, like maybe even a Bundesliga team or something like that, maybe you can get like 20 million for him. I think it'll be less though. I think it'll be less.
I don't know how Poles feel about playing in Germany if they're not Robert Lewandowski, but history, and all that. Anywho, so okay, so maybe no Kivior then. Let me adjust my list. Okay, so Tomiyasu is staying, obviously. Jesus, I mentioned. Jorginho, do we think he's staying or going? I know we want him to stay, but do we think he's staying?
I think he's going to Flamingo,
I think
personally.
I think Jorginho's staying. To be fair, I do think. I don't think he'll let go of both. Because just remember as well, experience as well. He's not going to let go of Five and Jorginho. I think that's actually poor squad planning to me personally.
Okay. I'm more inclined to think Arteta likes this guy so much that he's going to find a way to make him stay. I don't know what they're going to do. I know he's working on his coaching badges, so that might be the attraction. Like, just wrap that up here before you go type thing. And, Trossard, do we think he's staying or leaving?
That's the wild one. I don't know. I genuinely don't know because these contract extension talks are making me uneasy. I think we should sell, but we shall see.
Well, I'm going to open up that squad space because I want him gone personally. Zinchenko, he's leaving, correct? Okay, we'll open that spot up as well. All right, so I'm doing this in real time. By my math, we now need to fill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I'm still keeping Carl Hein as a third goalkeeper for now. So we actually need 2 backup goalkeepers, if we're being honest. So technically, based on what we're saying on this pod and who we think is leaving, we have 7 spots to fill in our squad if Arteta is going to get everything he wants. I remember a wise man that we all love very much who now works for FIFA and says ridiculous things every couple months that crack me up. Arsene Wenger once said he doesn't like to turn over more than 3 to 4 squad spots over a summer or over a window. I don't know that we have that option. And from the little we know about Andrea Berta and Atletico Madrid when he was there, he wasn't particularly shy about big transfer windows. He was moving people in and out. So it's not impossible that we will get a bunch of people in. So by my math, once again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squad spots to fill. Gabby, you can start us off. Who are our incomings over the summer? You have 7 spots to fill. Go, Miss
All right.
Big.
So let's start in the back. Personally, I would keep Setford or Carl Hahn, one of the two. So
Okay.
you already have you're starting a goalkeeper with Raya. I think we're gonna get Johan Garcia. That's just a given. So that's the 3 goalkeepers right there. You keep Setford, you got Johan Garcia, and you got Raya. Period. That's done.
Okay.
No need to do anything else. Now you go through your outfield players. Defenders. I have only added 1 player. They are left back. So I got White, Timber, Saliba, Gabriella, MLS, Calafiore, Tomiyasu, and I also have Anthony Robinson. Now, wait. Now, do I think we're going to get Robinson? No, I don't think we're going to get him. We haven't been linked to him. I don't think he's the kind of player Arteta wants. He's not necessarily an inverted player either, but he's somebody that I would want because he is, in my opinion, one of the best fullbacks in the Prem already. And he also is just an out-and-out fullback. None of this, like, tuck inside, try to do stuff. Tuck on the other side. All right, maraud up and down and get the ball to the box and defend. That's it.
What?
We don't have any profiles of that player other than Tierney, and Tierney's always hurt. Who's gonna go?
Well, even if Tierney wasn't hurt, I think based on what we saw, there's no version of Arteta that's really into this whole traditional fullback thing on the left side. Like, I think
I
it'd be a
agree.
waste.
I agree. I do think that he doesn't want that, but I do think he needs that. There's something that Arteta, at least this season, that I've seen that he is so stubborn on what he wants his system to be, and he doesn't want to try and surprise the opponent at all. We're going to play how we play against Real Madrid is how we're going to play against Leicester, which is kind of frustrating to me.
I disagree highly on that, man. I really do. I think we've seen enough game sort of variation from Arteta pretty much since he's come here to suggest otherwise. I'm
I
not
think
saying
most of
that
that variation ends up in midfield, though.
I'm not saying that you're wrong that he's stubborn, because he is, and I think all good managers are stubborn. He definitely is, and sometimes to a fault as well. But the way we played against Leicester, there's no like, I'm not being funny. Ndidi versus Camavinga. We even if he wanted to play that way, they wouldn't even allow us to, because they're just the level and quality is too different. Like, the players would be forced to change their style, let alone Arteta not recognizing that he's coming up against Mbappe and not a washed Vardy instead. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you in that regard. I just think sometimes we're too harsh on Arteta. I generally do think so. We're way too harsh on him sometimes for things that sometimes are not even are not even within his control sometimes as well. Him having to play a certain way because of injuries, whatever else kind of thing, that's just the nature of football sometimes. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. I was on Anthony Robertson, and this really interests me genuinely. But yeah, sorry, go on.
So that's the only player I've added in our back line. I think everybody else stays the same. And they should. I don't really want to chop and change in our back line, to be honest. I don't want to buy any more defenders. Enough of that.
All right, let's pause there real quick.
Yeah.
I feel like we can all agree on her first pick, Joan Garcia from Espanyol, as the backup goalkeeper. My only concern with that potential signing, which is he has a release clause of 20 million euros, which we kind of didn't want to pay when Edu was still around for whatever reason. I'm sure if we really want him, we'll get him for that amount. But he's also improved his reputation quite a bit this season. And I feel like I have a suspicion that he's going to want to go to a place where he can play. You're not benching David Raya. You're just not. Even if you're the future of the position. And David Raya is not an old man. He's not 30 yet. So I don't know that specific transfer is going to happen, but I do think we're bringing in a backup goalkeeper. But if it's him, I'd be very pleased, because what I've seen this season, watching him in La Liga, fantastic.
I agree. I think he's been very good. I would personally, if it was up to me, I wouldn't get him at all, because granted, the money's not that expensive, but I don't want to buy another goalkeeper. I'd rather get somebody on loan, or somebody like who's a journeyman, or somebody who's like a Lunin or a Keller, who is very good, but he's not going to start a lot. He's going to play in the cup competitions, and that's it. I'm not worried about the goalkeeper position. I'd rather we spend money elsewhere, because we don't have endless bounds of money like Chelsea and City. Right. However, I think Arteta's really going to want that guy and probably get him.
I think we should, because I feel like we've been very lucky. I think goalkeeper is a position where, yes, you want stability, but the nature of the position by default, look at Alisson. He just caught another concussion. Kelleher has played a bunch of minutes for Liverpool this season. And I suppose Alisson is more on the injury-prone side as far as goalkeepers go, but ultimately I just feel like just the physical nature of the position, especially in England, you need to have a backup that won't drop the level. You don't want Matt Turner being the backup because you just wanted to do a loan, or you get Neto and the manager never uses him, and God forbid. We know for a fact that Raya has played carrying little injuries this season. We know that. It's not a big deal because he's not one of the outfield players. We don't care. But I don't want to push the luck again, because I would hate for what should be a title challenging season to fall apart from the beginning because we lost our goalkeeper, the guy who touches the ball first. But Garcia as the pick would be wonderful. I think we all agree on that. As far as the defender coming in, Robinson is a great shot, fantastic player, but I'm not sure he fits our style. And I think he'll also be too expensive given his role in the squad. He's not costing less than 40, 45 mil. So Liverpool can go pay that if they want, because they definitely need a.
They probably will, yeah. I think they're gonna get Kirkus, but yeah.
Okay. I'll be honest. I think I said it. I can't remember what game it was, but I think I said I want to see our fullbacks both overlap more. And maybe it's because I was missing Ben White. And maybe Arteta is very specific in the fact that he wants his right back to overlap, because we saw Timber do that quite a few times this season, create goals from it as well. And maybe specifically really wants that from his right side because of the type of players we have there, and he wants his left back to not overlap because he wants his left-sided attacking players to essentially have less of the ball, and that means more of the ball for the left back, which I totally get and I totally understand. But sometimes let's vary it. Like left back, like they might not expect Calafiori or Miles Lewis to provide an overlap, and then you're in. So yeah, but yeah, I like the idea of a Kirkes, of a Robertson, because they're athletes, number one, and they've both got sweet left foots as well. So yeah.
Okay, so you like the idea, but what do you think will actually happen if you were to buy a defender?
Hmm.
Is it going to be a fullback or a center back? And if so, who do you have in mind? That's not Robinson, because that's her
But
pick.
yeah, to be honest, I don't actually have anyone in mind at left back, because again, there's space for Timber to play there. Like so, it that's always been in the back of my mind. I genuinely think cup final, if it comes down to it, like he's gonna play Timber left back and Ben right back. I think, and not because Mars Lewis Skelly isn't capable of playing there, but I think he really wants this. He wants the most likely to guarantee the victory, if that makes sense. And Timber can play left back; it's no issue for him at all. So,
Yeah. I'll put it this way:
hmm,
as good as Timber is at left back, I
hmm,
don't want to see it again. I just
hmm,
don't. I just
I
don't.
agree.
hmm.
It's not. It's such a waste of the player.
Yeah,
Like in an emergency, absolutely no problem.
hmm,
Like players do a job, but if we don't see it again, that means things have been good health wise in the team. So yeah. So you don't particularly think we need a purchase in defense? Is that what you're saying? Because
no,
you're not buying the left back, but who is the center back then?
okay. If we're not, if to be honest, if we're not buying a left back, then a centre back to me, anything from League R, I'm taking. Any big black dude from League R that's 19, 20 years old. No, legit. Do you want to know? No, do you want to know what? Do you want to know why?
I'm
Because
glad you said that on camera.
no, do you want to know why? Because again, Arsenal are at the stage where anyone coming in that's not coming into the first team, to me, has to be a project. If you're not going to be a first team player, we've got so many good players in our first 11, and even in our second position, especially in defense and midfield kind of thing. That anyone else coming in there, you can't come in on big wages for a big fee. You have to be a project. You just have
Yeah.
to, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm okay with that. If we're promoting from Haaland, great. If not, project signing for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I think it was that's definitely the development spot in the squad for a
yeah,
defender, and that currently is Kivior.
mm,
I don't really envision a future where Kivior will develop to the point where he's going to be a starter, so that's why we think he should go. This spot would have been perfect for a player like Aiden Heaven, who decided to go play for United instead. So I like the idea of a development option from France. That's good. If Tosin was on the pod, we know exactly what he would say. I'm not gonna say that shit. All right, let's move into midfield. So we have Garcia and a defensive option that is probably a development option because we don't want to spend too much money. We're pretty much set as far as starters go and some backups in defense. So it's probably not going to be Jedi. Unfortunately, Gabby, as much as you want him,
It's not gonna be, but if
it's
I
not going to
got
be him.
my way, you go and get an overlap and fullback.
All right, all right, all right. Now into midfield. What are we saying? You go first, Gabby.
I'll tell you who I have already. Obviously, I have Ethan in our midfield instead of in our attackers. So Rice, Odegaard, Marino, and Ethan are already there. I have added Max Doman in there because I'm not sure if he's going to be in our squad next season or if he's still going to be too young for it. I can't remember when Ethan started with us. And I think Arteta really
even
wants to
even
play
started
him
when he was 15. It was like Max
in
Diamond will
15,
make
and I
it.
think Max is, yeah, so he'll make it. Um, and I brought in three players. I brought in three players.
Three
That's a
players in
heavy
midfield.
load right there.
Okay.
So I have been adamant that I think we need somebody who is either a number 10 or somebody who's more attacking in the midfield, um, who is a shooter. Like, who's a shooter and creator. Ardegaard needs somebody to, like, alleviate the burden. So I brought in my boy, Turkey. I don't think he will cost that much. That Leon fire sale, I will be there. I will be there. They need to sell. They must. So Turkey's in there. I also brought in Bruno G. Now, we know Bruno G is going to cost a lot. He's going to cost a lot. The problem with that is if you go to Newcastle, and I know that coach is going to have Isak on his list. If you go to Newcastle, you're not gonna get two of their best players. You're just not. You're gonna get one or you're gonna get the other. And I just think that you should probably get, if you're gonna spend the money, and it's not gonna be as much as Isak, you probably go get Bruno G instead of Isak. He's gonna cost you about 80, I think. And we need somebody in the midfield to do some wonders. I think a lot of people, especially when he was at Lyon, a lot of people thought that Bruno G was world class, genuinely. And I think we were looking at him, but we didn't go in for him. If you're talking, you're on mute.
I was asking who was. I didn't hear who you said that was at Leon. Are we still talking Shirky?
No, Bruno G.
Bruno G. Okay, Bruno G. My bad. Right. Okay. So you said you have 3 purchases in midfield. So it's Shirky.
You have 3.
Bruno G. And who's the third one?
The last one is Wharton. And that is the one that I know for sure we will not get, but I think we need that profile. I think we need it. I personally, as you can see on my list, Bruno G, Wharton, and Turkey, I did not get another DM. I didn't put a Zubimendi on there. I do think we will get Zubimendi. He's not personally the player that I want, even though I think that people are a little harsh on him. I think we need more attacking players. I think we need more metronomes who can get the ball moving a lot quicker. And I also think we need players, at least in our midfield, who have Prem experience. And I don't rate Prem experience as a quality that high. But in our midfield, I think that is important.
Well said. I'm not mad at these at all. I just question the possibility. That's really all it is. Like
and that's the problem.
Wharton. Yeah, I love Bruno G. Shirky, I just think Arteta doesn't like certain kinds of players. And
he
Shirky
doesn't. But I think we need that. We need a little bit of bastard in our team. I don't think we have it enough.
That's very fair. Coach, your picks for midfield. How many midfielders do we need, and how many would you get if you were pulling the trigger this summer?
So I personally think we're okay with getting 2 midfielders, and one of them is metronome type. So I also had Wharton on my list as well, and the second one actually was Cherky as well. Now, actually, sorry, I had Wharton, Baleba, and Cherky. Sorry, those are my picks, and the outside pick for the Cherky sort of alternative was Eze. Now we're not going to take 2 of Palace's prized possessions. That's not happening, but my thinking behind this, again, this is what I want, not what will probably happen, because I think Zubimendi is more than likely happening at this point. My sort of reasoning behind this is that we're losing 5, cool. Prem experience, to me, I do disagree, I think is the most valuable thing, because we're not buying for players to settle in, we're buying for players to come and hit the ground running. Like, we're trying to win right now. So all of that sort of, hipsterish sort of, I don't know, but it's not
pause. If I may interject, this whole we're not buying to listen. The team we currently have, don't forget the team we're talking about here. This is arguably one of the best teams in the world. This team, by many standards, if not for injury, could have won the Premier League in the last 2 seasons. Probably should have won it last season if Leandro Trossard could just get a shot on goal type shit. So the idea that we need to buy somebody that is already ready-made. Really, for me, it's less about someone making us level up and more about depth to ensure that when there's an issue, the level doesn't drop that way.
I agree.
But that's the point I'm making. By doing that, no. But by doing that, regardless of who, because I'm not precious about many players in this first 11 outside of probably our 2 centre backs and Saka. For me, everyone else. Your lunch is up for grabs for anybody else that comes in or anybody else that's in the squad. So and that's how I feel.
I will slap you with a Declan Rice bobblehead.
Sorry, Declan Rice as well. My bad. Declan Rice as well. Those 4 for me. So everyone else is almost like it's whatever kind of thing. So yeah, if you're coming into this side, don't come in because I'm just here to help. No, I'm here to take someone's head off. I'm here to I want to play. That's my shirt on the thing. So I don't subscribe to the idea of squad players per se. Everyone in the squad, especially in the midfield and forward line, you have to be ready to take someone's lunch. Put it like this: if Trossard was 24 years old, kind of thing, all of us would think, what a signing! Wow, Martinelli has come in and he did well for us, but then he wasn't fine. But look at what Trossard's done for us. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the level of standard we need, but younger and probably a bit more impactful. So yeah, Walton comes in, no settling in period. We're a ball dominant team. He's gonna love that kind of thing. Cool, no problem. Baleba, again, fantastic on the ball kind of thing, but again, another athlete, no problem there. Cherky to me is a little bit left of field for what Arteta would want because we've seen what he sort of prioritizes. But I do think that sort of player kind of liberates Odegaard because really that's what it's about, isn't it? Like how do we get more out of Odegaard, but also get better as well for me. So Ray and Cherky, look, you can't. No one here can tell me what foot he is. First of all, no one can tell me what foot the guy is. Number one. Number two, he's ball carrying out of this world. He's pass selection again out of this world, and the positions he takes up as well. My issue is that London and our propensity for making people fat with our vast selections of kebabs
Listen,
and eateries of Middle Eastern.
Relax. The
It's
food is not. The food is
let
not
me tell you
that
something.
good.
Let me tell you
Okay,
something right now.
it's
Let me
not
tell you
that
something
good.
right now.
I've been a bunch of
ruined.
times. You've
It's
taken
ruined.
me places. It's not that good. It's
It's
okay.
ruined. It's ruined. It's ruined stronger men than Shirky is what I'm saying. So, and that's my one worry. But I genuinely do love him as a player. I really do.
All right. So here's the question for both of you. I'm going to
Yeah.
list out 5 midfielders,
okay.
and I need each of you to pick 3 for this summer. No equivocating. You already did all that. So here are the 5 midfielders. You guys listed them both. So there's a list of 5. You pick 3. Ryan Shirky, Eberechi Eze, Bruno Guimaraes, Carlos Baleba, and Adam Wharton. Pick your 5. Coach, you go first.
5 or 3, sorry. So
Yeah, 3 out of that 5.
Wharton, Shirky, and so who was the other options again?
Shirky, Eze, Bruno G, Baleba, Wharton. Those are the 5.
Okay, Wharton, Shirky, and Eze.
So
I'm keeping the 3 that I already had.
creative options.
Yeah.
Interesting. Gabby.
I'm keeping the 3 I already had: Turkey, Wharton, and Bruno G.
Shirky. So Wharton is the one you agree on.
Wharton and Turkey we both agree on.
Yeah.
The Bruno G
Turkey.
one is I put him in there because Arteta loves a player who can play multiple positions, and that's Bruno G to a T. He can play DM if you need him to, and he's an 8, and he can play a 10. We need all 3 of those profiles. I would rather spend the money and get an $80 million Bruno G than get Zubimendi, who can only play 1.
He can play 2. He can play 2. He can play 2. I can see a scenario in which Zubimendi plays as a left 8 with Rice behind him. I can see them flipped. I can see them in a double pivot together, which is what he really is at the moment. He's not really a single pivot. He would just be the best suited player to play as a single pivot at Arsenal if he came to Arsenal. But he's really a double pivot guy for now, I think. At least until no player on the planet, maybe outside of Declan Rice, has the legs to be a single pivot in this era of the game. It's just not really a thing anymore. Like we like to imagine it, we like to think of it, we like to think of lineups in that way, but that's not really a thing anymore. There's a lot of box midfields and all the rest. Coach,
Allow me to pontificate if that's a word. But I really do. I really do think that there's a perception of what midfielders are and what they should be that's been skewed and ruined by essentially Barcelona. And it's really unfair to so many top midfielders today that people assume that you have to build your midfield this way. And if you don't, it's not only substandard, it's not good enough. And it's just the wrong way of thinking. Like, you're never ever going to see a less physically gifted midfield that's as dominant as Barcelona ever again. They are the exception to the rule. Everybody else has to lean into physicality. They have to lean
I
into
don't know if I agree with
hero
that, but
players. Pardon, sorry?
I said, I don't know if I agree with that, but I hear what you're saying.
You try and name me a team that's been as successful, remotely successful, that has had that profile of midfielder since Barcelona, before or after. You won't be able to.
well, here's the thing. Here's where I agree with Coach. That classic Barcelona lineup we're thinking of, which is basically Sergio Busquets,
Iniesta,
Xavi,
Xavi.
and Iniesta. First off, they were essentially supplemented by the goats. In that team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
10 on top of that. So there's that part. Then the other part is that people often understate just how physically good Sergio Busquets was. He was not one of the midgets, excuse my French people.
He played
He
centre back for a
he's
while.
6'3". He was 6'3". He could get around the pitch. Great tackler, great off the ball, great positionally, very physical. It wasn't as shrimpy as people like to remember it because of Xavi and Iniesta.
No,
So you
but the
definitely
point,
need physical options, that's for sure.
yeah, but the point I'm making is that, put it like this: Busquets wasn't a physical specimen, but that's not the first thing you look at Busquets for. You see what I'm saying? Like he all these biggest sort of physical attributes came from the fact that he was tall. Like legit, he was tall. So when teams went long, he could compete on corners. He could defend, kind of thing. But really and truly, they had so much of the ball that his physical attributes didn't even matter. They legit didn't even, he didn't need to, like, Busquets was the same size he was when he came in the team, the same size he was when he left. He didn't need to bulk up. He didn't need to do any of that. You see what I'm saying? So I know we've got off topic a little bit, but we have to start appreciating that teams, you just won't get that anymore. It's impossible. Those are one. That's a one of one midfield. Like the closest thing that we had to that we got to that afterwards was what, let's call it the Real Madrid midfield. But guess who was at the base of that midfield? Casemiro. And then guess who he was playing as one of the eights? Toni Kroos. Again, these aren't midgets, and these are big guys, physical guys as well. So I'm sorry, like that idea that we need midgets, it just doesn't happen. It's just let's get out of that thinking. If you're lucky enough to get it, great. But let's look at what is easily more replicable. You know.
I'll just say this before we move on. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't actually think we need small like technicians, but I think you
Love it. But
only having the big guys, only having that hinders your team 100%. That is what I'm trying to get to. Only having those players, they can only take you so far. You know, let's say like Joelinton was really good in that final, yeah? Like, but you can't only have Joelingtons in your team. You know what I mean?
You know, funny enough, I should have probably been a bit more clear. I was talking about purely from the deepest midfielder perspective. Like,
yeah, okay.
that idea that they have to do this and that and this and that and this and that. Like Busquets is so unique that we talk about the Makelele role. Really, it's the Busquets role is what we should be talking, because he was unique in what he done.
I don't want to hear that shit. It's Black History Month for me. Sorry, I don't want to hear that.
Is
shit.
what it is.
But then again, he did establish that reputation at Chelsea, which is so anti-black.
Yes.
So okay, fair enough. So I think what we agree on, or what you two agree on, is Shirky and Wharton coming in, and there's a bit of a discussion as to whether it's going to be Bruno G, Baleba, or Zubimendi, who is kind of the Wharton instead. But
I mean, to be fair, he wanted 2 midfielders and I wanted 3, so.
right. That's fair. So we'll just say Shirky and Wharton for now. And now we move to the attacking part of the pitch. We've been mostly linked with, at least in all our imaginations, Alexander Isak, who has a very strong argument for the best 9 on the planet at the moment. When you add all the factors, you know, his production, his style of play, as the kids say, his aura, you know, like, that celebration is very cool. It is very cool. I'll give him that. But he's also going to cost what, to my mind, an entire transfer window cost, essentially. You know, so I think before we get into selecting who we actually want to come to the club, I would make the point that if we get Isak, which I would be pleased with, by the way, I have no issue with that. It essentially means that we're probably not doing more than 1 or 2 other transfers, and they're going to be kind of budget transfers. Maybe we'll get that goalkeeper for 20 million, then one of the midfielders for, I don't know if that you're spending 60 million on a midfielder after you spent 120 on a striker. I just can't see that happening at Arsenal. I wish I could. I can't see it. But let's get back to fantasy mode. Gabby, who are the forwards you would bring in?
So we already all agree. I actually had to redo my list because I forgot about Jesus. I forgot about his spot. But we already agreed that Saka, Havertz, Martinelli are all going to still be in the squad. And then you have to add Jesus. That's 4. Personally, I wanted to bring in at least 2, if not 3 players in the attack. which I had to kind of configure a little bit with Jesus being in there. But I think Nico Williams is coming, and I think we need him. There's not a lot of left wingers right now that have impressed me, and I still think Nico is it. Like, he has the thing, he has the X factor. He's very fast. He also creates, which I think Martinelli tends to struggle a little bit creating for himself and also for his teammates. So I think he comes in and is a starter. So Nico Williams is in there, and I still brought in Sesko. I took Isak off my list entirely. I had him originally because I just don't think that you can go and get him. I've been saying that for a while. I don't think you can go and get him, spend the 120 million, which I think they will probably get, and also do anything else that you want to do. Everything else is budget transfer after that, and I don't want that. I need us to have high quality in other positions and also have good quality in our attack. So Isak was already out, and the other people that we were looking at, let's say an Ekitike, something about Ekitike is not, it's not giving me he reminds me too much of Jesus almost. I know he has 16 or 19 goals this season, but he normally plays in a 2. He always has a second striker with him.
Which is your boy Havertz.
I do hear that, but I don't think he's going to play with. If you're going to bring in Bruno G or Zubimendi or whoever, they're going to be like Declan Rice and Odegaard. They're all three going to play in the midfield. Havertz is not going to play there. So where is he going to play if not at striker?
Yes, he will.
Agree disagree on that.
You guys watch Arteta every weekend. You don't know his favorites. He's not benching.
We do know his favorites.
I'm telling
you. No, listen. I don't think he's benching him for anyone. I think that Havertz will stay as the 9. And if he's going to stay as the 9, you bring in someone else to assist with the goals. That's what you do. I don't think he's coming to replace him. And I think that's the problem. A lot of people think we are going to spend big on a striker to replace Havertz. He's not. He's not.
Havertz is playing. Like, I don't care what you motherfuckers buy or don't buy. Havertz is playing. Whether as an 8 or as a 9, he's playing. Like, just get used to that. As long as the hamstring heal all right, he's playing. So you're saying Williams, Nico Williams, and you're saying Sesko.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, go on and fantasize about how Isak is going to come to Arsenal.
So first of all, I had Williams for all the reasons that Gabby has mentioned, but also for a couple more. One of the main things is there's a world where he plays as a 9 for us as well. And again, we talk about versatility and Arteta liking that. Nico Williams has the thing where he creates for himself, and I personally would not ever want to be a defender being faced up with him on the wing, let alone down the middle of the pitch. He's going to beat them 10 times out of 10. He's that sort of. I think there was a goal he scored in the quarters or the semis of the Euros where like he's faked to go to the far post and he's roofed it near post on his right foot, and that sort of finishing is just, yeah, that it spoke to me. It lets me know what sort of player that he is. Like he wants to try stuff. He wants to be unpredictable. He wants to hurt teams in a way that they're not expecting, which is what we need. Like, we've been a little bit monotonous and predictable in attack, I think, especially from the left. So yeah, 100%. I'm all in on Nico Williams. I think the links are there enough to suggest that we will be making a move for him. So yeah. Now Isak, for me, a lot of, I know I'm the minority here on this pod, but this whole idea that he can never come and that we're just not going to go in from this one again, I just think it's just so premature, and so it's so like there's more reasons for him, more reasons that he will come than he won't come for me personally. And one of the main things from Arsenal perspective as well is that he hasn't even postured to talk about signing a new deal. Like, if he was serious about staying at Newcastle, they would have been able to tie him down already, 100%. It's happened before with other players as well, where not even linked to Arsenal, where players think, oh, this player's gonna sign, he's not gonna sign, and they sign a new bumper contract out of nowhere, kind of thing. That's happening with Isak. So that the door's open there. Number one. Number two, we spent £105 million on a midfielder. Why wouldn't we spend £120 million on a forward, especially with Berta now in the team now, at the club now, where he can actually have a stronger claim to say, look, I've signed this striker and that striker for big money for Atletico Madrid. If I'm saying you Isak is the one, trust me on this kind of thing. All of these things come into play for me personally. So while it might be unlikely to some degree. I personally am choosing to live in a world where we can do it. Like we actually can do it. What that means to other transfers, I'm not too concerned about, because I really think the strength of this team is already.
See, that's the problem. You don't be concerned about the rest of the squad. You said just get the striker and just say fuck it.
He lives in a world where Kamala Harris is United States president. That's the fucking world we live in, because I just don't see it. I don't, and not because I feel as if Arsenal can't do it. Like you said, there's more factors that suggest he would want to. Like, first, Arsenal is the best team in the world, to my mind. Like, I'm gonna just put that out there. Fuck Real Madrid. Second, they're the best team in London, which is a very important factor. Third, the Henry thing. It's just what it is. Like, we all see it. He's not blind. We all know it. Like, so there's that. And I mean, you have to look at a team and think, if you're Isak, like, you add me to that team and we're going places. So I think if Arsenal is interested and they want to push for it, it can happen. I just think that if it happens, everything we just discussed, almost everything we discussed prior to that, is moot because of the expenditure the money would take to make it happen. And we're not just talking about the transfer fee itself, the wages are going to be, now that said, we're getting rid of some guys, so that should help. But it's going to be quite the investment. And God forbid he starts breaking down the way he has historically. For me,
I promise you my head will be up, though.
That's my issue with the transfer. That's my issue with the transfer. It's the eggs in the basket thing. Like, I like the idea of spreading the risk by raising the floor in all the areas of the squad, as opposed to raising the ceiling in one area and having it all be on one guy that occasionally has a hamstring twang, then his groin will break. Then
I mean, to be fair, it's the same thing we said about Osimhen. It's the same thing we said about Osimhen not too long ago. Like, we knew he was a crock. I mean, granted, he's had this season with Galatasaray where he's been fit mostly the whole season. But I just don't think that Arsenal will spend that much money on a player they know that cannot stay fit. They will not. They will not.
Yeah, and for me, if it's not Isak is the one I want. I'll be very clear about that. I just don't live in the same world Coach lives in. But if it's not him, in the more realistic world, for me, it's Ekitike over Sesko, because I just like players that are more capable of creating their own thing. That's basically it. And that's not to say Sesko can't do it. He can. He just seems like more of a box guy than Ekitike. And put it this way: if we get Williams, I'm more inclined to want Sesko. I'll be happier with Sesko. If we get a different wide forward that isn't quite as creative, then I would want Ekitike more, because I feel like he will bring that quality, like going out wide, dribbling that.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's the reason why I didn't want Ekitike, because like I said, he reminds me so much of Jesus, and I think my problem with Jesus is he's never in the box. Like, I want my striker to be in the box. Like, I want everybody else to create for the striker. That's what I want. Saka's a creator already. We need another creator on the left-hand side. And Odegaard, if you're getting somebody who can score, personally, like I said, I think Havertz is going to score you at least 15 goals a season. God, if Sesko even scores you 10 to 12, that's enough. That's your 20 goal a season striker right there. Just right there. And at the end of the day, we don't need just goals, because we had the most goals last season that we've ever scored. We need moments players. That's what we need. We need players who show up in big moments. We know our team can score. That's not the problem. I need you to score at the time that you need to score. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like the last minute winners, the stuff that we had 2 seasons ago, we don't get that anymore. I need the big moments, the one chance, one goal players. I need that.
I'll say this much about everyone.
And that's Isak that you're talking about. To be fair, he don't really need much.
I don't disagree. Like, if he was less, absolutely go get him, but he's not.
Like Coach, on this Isak thing, Newcastle do not play anything like Arsenal.
Nope.
We haven't really talked about that factor. Now, he was at Sociedad, who at the time, because this season Sociedad have actually been more of a long ball team, which is kind of crazy, given the players they have, but whatever. I'm not a coach. At Sociedad, they were a little more ball dominant when he was there. He was there with Marino and Odegaard and Zubimendi and all them cats. At the time, we didn't get him for whatever reason. I think at the time, some of us wanted him. It didn't happen. Whatever. Do you think there's any concern about the style not translating? Because Eddie Howe essentially is doing an impression of Atletico Madrid at their very darkest for the past since he moved to Newcastle, basically. So there's you watch a lot of these Isak compilations, or you just watch games when he's threatening people. It's usually because he has space to run into. He's pacey, he's dribbly. Now I've seen him score from like the second phase of set pieces and things like that, which suggests that okay, if the opponent is fenced in, he can still make shit happen. But at the end of the day, Newcastle plays nothing like Arsenal, really. Does that concern you at all?
No, because I'm signing Isak for his goals 100%. But guess what? If Isak plays for Arsenal, everybody else scores more. Saka scores more. Martinelli or Williams, whoever scores more. They do. Because Isak, more than anything, yeah, he's developed into like a real talented goal scoring number 9. He creates for others. That's part of his. That's what made him. So that's what made people take notice of him. Before, like, this version of Isak is kind of new to everyone, because the younger version of Isak was a grenade. He was a live wire that could score goals, but he was creating for his teammates. He was beating 2 or 3 guys, and then laying it off for someone. So my whole thing is that to me he's a complete 9. I think I said it like last year that there's a world where if we were to sign Isak, we could play him off the left with Havertz. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's my thing. Now, again, it's a fantasy world. I accept that, for many people. But let's just say we don't get him and we get Sesko. Again, no issue with Sesko. Sesko is lovely, genuinely lovely player, kind of thing. Our style of football doesn't change that much with either striker, kind of thing. But if you're asking me, and let's just throw Ekitike into there as well. If you're asking me who I think would get the best out of our best players, out of Havertz, out of Saka, I think probably it's Isak that gets the best out of those players as well. So, yeah, we're talking about, okay, the outlay is going to be huge and the other teams of the other parts of the team might suffer, kind of thing. But what we already have probably goes up another level because of his presence. That's my thinking behind it. Like, without me being a troll, like, genuinely, that's how I feel about it.
I think that applies to every player we've spoken about in that 9 position. And that's not because the other guys, like Ekitike is closer to Isak in that he's more of a creative type player as well, as Gabby mentioned. There's a bit of the Gabby Jesus about him. Honestly, with Ekitike, when you watch his highlight compilations or just watch him in a game, yeah, he gets goals. He gets all kinds of goals. But the more impressive part is his creative chops. He really, he can really anticipate where space is going to be and where people should be running to. Like, he plays those passes that tell people where to run to. And I love that about him. So I guess ultimately the conclusion on my end is that if we get a wide forward, whatever we do at center forward doesn't really matter to me. Like, based on the names we've been linked with, I'm happy with whatever we do there. So I guess to move on a bit as we wrap this up, if we had to sell one important player at the club right now to fund some of these purchases that we've talked about, who would it be, Gabby?
Martinelli. It's Martinelli. That's who you're selling. If you had to sell an important player, you're selling Martinelli. Because all the other important players, let's start from the back. I'm not selling Saliba or Gabriel. I'm just not. And I don't think anyone else is going to get you a good enough fee because their contracts are longer. In a midfield, I know you think Odegaard. I wouldn't sell Odegaard, especially if you're getting him a striker and another winger. I'm not selling Odegaard. I'm obviously not selling Rice. I wouldn't sell any of our kids. I wouldn't sell MLS or Ethan.
Yeah, that's a non-starter.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, who are you selling? You're not selling. You're definitely not selling Saka. In a perfect world, maybe you can get rid of Kai, but we're not. We're just not going to.
I'm not doing that either.
Exactly.
Me,
So
I will make the case for a while with Saul Odegaard. We've talked about how we want to use him as a metronome, or he shouldn't be, the creative burden shouldn't be on him. We should bring in someone like Shirky. Like, if we do the business that we're hoping we do this summer, if we get 3 midfielders, and one of them is Wharton or Zubimendi, one of them is Bruno G, and one of them is Shirky, we don't have a problem creatively. We just don't. He can go. If someone wants to come in with the 80 or 100 million to buy that guy, and we go replace him with the people we've talked about, with any combination of those 3, with Eze or Shirky coming in, with Nwaneri already in the squad, I'm very comfortable without him, personally. I'm not saying we should do it, but to me, he's the most saleable asset. Martinelli is different because I think we sort of underestimate the value of his pace. Yeah,
Pace.
his pace and the repeatability of his sprinting. He's one of the fast players that can actually do it for 90 minutes. Like, he may look tired, but he doesn't stop running. You know, I can't think of another player like that in Europe. I really can't. Like, where are we gonna get someone else like that?
It's literally just Vinny. Vinny just keeps going. To be fair, but he's petulant. But yeah, that's
Right.
the only. But Vinny for his trickiness really just wears his fullback down more than anything. Like,
much.
he just keeps on
It's
going.
just, who's gonna get tired first, me or you? Not gonna be me. You know. All right. Well, coach, you didn't answer the question on who you might sell.
Yeah, I won't lie to you. I'm gonna go Kai. Like, if I had to, I don't want to sell Kai, but if I had to, I think just out of everything that we have to do, like we'd have to do in terms of replacing stuff, I feel like it would be easier to kind of absorb that sell. And I don't say this with like callousness towards my love Kai. I just feel like if it put a gun to my head, I would have to sell him, and we'd get good money for him as well. Like, he was linked to Real Madrid before us, and Bayern as well. We'd get really good money for him. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm not selling him before Odegaard. I'm just not.
yeah.
I like Kai better as a footballer. I don't care if he's better or not. I just like him better. You know. All right. I feel like I should have one more question before we get out of here, but I don't really have a question.
Well, the only question I have is that how much you think your summers would how much you think your team would actually cost? That's because that's what it's gonna get down to.
Okay, cool. So if we're talking about in terms of wages and outgoing stuff like that, if we were to sign Isak, Arsenal are doing a £250 million window. Like, we are. 100%. Which I think, to be honest, considering compared to our competitors, since Arteta's come in, he spent the fifth least. I think that's totally fine and reasonable. Like, spending 250 million this summer, to me, means that next summer and the summer after that, we're not spending that much. If we're spending to replace someone that we want to sell. You see what I'm saying? That's the way I see it. So 250 million gross, I'm okay with that. I'm personally okay with that.
Yeah, easy to say. It's not your money.
Exactly.
Stan Kroenke, on the other hand, he don't like using that Walmart money on shit like that. But whatever.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. I think it would be impossible for the board to look at the way this season went and to look at the man in charge and think that the best option would be to penny pinch this summer, in any sort of way, or keep people around that are clearly not useful anymore. So I think we're definitely going to spend. It's 250 million is something I have to see to believe. I feel like if we did that, like, the reason why I don't want us to do that is because I want Arsene Wenger to live longer. Because if we do that, he will literally drop dead wherever the fuck he's standing. Like, they did what? He would just drop dead like, my legacy, and they did what for him? Oh man.
Do you want to know what's so funny? The reason why we're here and we're talking about spending 250 million is because of the sacrifice that he made. Also, Wenger wanted to like, I can tell you this now, like, from everything that I've observed as an Arsenal fan, from everything that I've seen, from everything that I've heard, like, with substantial evidence, Arsene Wenger wanted to splash cash. It was just
shit. If they had gotten Luis Suarez, we would have won the league.
Yeah, like it was just unfortunate the way things panned out. But this idea that he was this penny pinching guy that was trying to boost his own sort, like, can you imagine there was a circle of thought that people thought that Arsene Wenger was hoarding the money for himself, guys? Could you imagine that? But it happened.
War chest articles every summer for him to
but
not
he
spend.
was holding it for himself, kind of thing. No, so yeah, I agree that his legacy was he was smart with his transfers, kind of thing. But Arsene Wenger wanted to spend. There's no doubt in my mind he wanted to spend.
Put it this way: there isn't a manager alive or dead that you go to and say, hey, do you want me to get you some new, better players? That would say no. They all want new players. They all want the best players, and the best players cost money. Unfortunately, Arsenal had to sacrifice his legacy on the altar of a very lovely stadium that is probably in need of a facelift, but that's a problem for people that live in London. I don't give a fuck. Is there anything else we should discuss as we're about to wrap up this whole Andrea Berta cosplay that we just did?
I would say the only thing I have to say is that I know we have for a few years we haven't been the net spend team, but like one thing I do appreciate about Berta is that he has a very good selling policy. He sells for a good amount, at least from what I've seen in his transfers, and he does swing big on his transfers, who he's bringing in. So I think selling well is important. We do not sell well. We have not been a team that has sold well for years, and I think we need to get back to that. Sometimes you need to get rid of some players to get in some other players to win some things.
That's fair. That's fair. I would say we've definitely improved in that respect. Getting was it 40 million for Balogun? That's
Yeah,
not chop liver. Getting
no,
30 for Nketiah with like 2 days left that's not
yeah.
chop liver. So we've
We
definitely
got
improved
we got
in
40
that
million for
regard.
Iwobi as well, 30 million for ESR.
Yeah,
Like when it comes to selling those sort of products, I think there's been a clear improvement. My thing is now, let's say we had to sell someone like an Odegaard. Let's see how much we could get for him. You see what I'm saying? That's where I'm at. So
yeah, 70 light, like easy, like light, like probably closer to 80 in my head, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me in this hypothetical exercise that surely will not result in any disappointment for any of us during the summer. No frustration at all. We're not going to be mad at anybody because everything's going to go the way we planned it on this pod. Yeah, I guess as to wrap it up, let's see what we ended up with. Joan Garcia in goal. I think we all agree on that. We want a development option of some sort at the back to replace Kivior if he were to go. If he's to stay, we can live with that. We all seem to really want a more creative option in midfield that can take some burden off Odegaard, an experienced creative option. So we're looking at Ryan Shirky probably because he'll be available on a discount, or Eberechi Eze. I think available on a discount is kind of thing. That's sort of market opportunity we should be taking advantage of. That is what we
Agreed.
should do right there, because
put it
that's
like this.
clearly a
The
good player.
Leon Fire Sale, I will be there first in
Put it like
line.
this year. Let's say we'll to get Shirky, right? And there's been rumors for years at this point that his entourage is just really terrible to deal with. But what's new? A young French player with a terrible entourage. Anybody heard of Anelka? No. But yeah.
I'm wearing my
Um,
kit.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But the thing is, if he doesn't work out, we can literally just sell him to Fulham for 50 million. Like that's what that's what will happen. So it's a win-win for me. So
He just seems like such a Real Betis player. Like in like 7 years, he will be at Real Betis. I don't know how it's gonna happen. So we said Shirky or Eze as a more creative 10 attacking 8 type.
Eze.
Well, he mentioned Eze. You wanted
Oh, okay.
Shirky, but I think we all kind of agreed that maybe Shirky is the most attainable one, given that you both want Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. But I don't think that's happening because he's just going to cost too much. I think
Yeah.
if I thought Adam Wharton would cost the 60 Zubimendi is rumored to cost with his release clause, then I think we'd do that. We certainly asked about him, I heard. I also heard recently I'm not going to mention the source, that we actually did talk to Olise when he was looking for clubs, but he didn't
I
like
can
Arsenal
imagine.
and Arsenal didn't like him.
Yeah.
So it just didn't happen. Like a personality, I can like put it this way: the person at Arsenal that has the personality most similar to Michael Olise's is Kivior.
I was gonna say it's Havertz. It's close to Havertz for me.
Now, at least I've seen Havertz like do like funny meme type shit before. Like Eze is
Yeah.
just he's just a blank face, So, and I'm not
If
sure Arteta
you're
likes those
playing
guys.
Playboy Carti around him, you'll probably get a bit of personality out of him. But apart from that, you're probably right. To be fair.
All right, so we want Wharton, but we kind of know that Zubimendi is the one the club want. But there are also rumors about Real Madrid getting interested in Zubimendi because they do need that
Yeah.
profile.
And
Chouameni
there's rumors
does not
about us
need that
going for
profile.
Bruno G, so let's say, hey, bring him.
Yeah, I do. I do Wharton over Bruno G, not because I think Wharton is better. I just think there's more runway there. But Bruno G is the win now option. Put it that way. He's a win now option if we want to do it. We all want Williams. It seems like the manager really wants Williams. And we all want Isak, but we don't think we're gonna get Isak. So we're happy with Sesko. I'm also happy with Ekitike. So that's where we landed in our transfer window this summer. Folks, thank you as always for listening to this. I can't believe you sat through an hour, 2 hours really, because this is part 2 of us talking about the squad and refreshing the squad and all that stuff. But it's an international break. What the fuck else are you doing? Like, come on, man. Like, all you really doing is being on spring break and all the rest. But my friends, thank you for joining. You know what to tell the people.
Peace.
Peace.
Hey folks, this is Deen from the Shirtless Plantain Show. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and follow us on all our socials. You can see them right beneath our recordings in every video. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.